Do you remember in Wreck-It Ralph when Zangief is attending the villains AA meeting and he says, just because I am bad guy doesn't mean I am bad guy? I'm pretty sure Zangief says it, but it's something that randomly popped into my head when we started learning a lot more about Loki. Here's a quick timeline of events by year in which Loki has been implicated in some sort of drama on Elbaf. 14 years ago, he killed King Harold. 6 years ago, he got captured by Shanks. Now, in between that time, there's an 8-year gap. 8 years ago, potentially, is when he met Lola, right? The reason I bring this up is because I always thought that Big Mom sought out, she sailed to Elbaf and she, sought out Loki, the crown prince of Elbaf, but actually we find out that he's been rampaging at sea for a very long time. So again, 14 years ago, he kills King Harold. For some reason, he's at sea for roughly 8 years, and 6 years ago, Shanks put an end to that, his rampage at sea, and brought him into custody. Now we have another addition to the timeline, which is a couple years ago, he was sentenced to a crucifixion on Elbaf, and this failed. They couldn't do it. And because of that, it took all the warriors of Elbaf to restrain Loki back onto the Atom Tree, which in and of itself is crazy because that tree, the one he is chained to can't be the one that supports the island, right? I've just been wondering about that. But the point of this video is for me to just present to you the notion that Loki might be a bad guy, but I don't think Loki is an evil guy. I actually think we're being duped by King Harold. Grand Line Review, O'Hara, blah, blah, blah. All these other theory YouTubers, they've been talking about it, and that's cool. Good for them. But I want to present to you a little bit of a scenario. So when we went to Egghead, right? When Saturn landed on the island, he summoned himself there with the little summoning circle power. Backing up even further, we saw that he had already stepped foot on Egghead prior to that, knowing with the Kuma flashback and all that, right? So he had credence to have already been there to put down the summoning circle, or at least the way I think these summoning circles work is that you have to have been there before to do so. Maybe you have to be in a certain radius. However, Maryjois to Elbaf doesn't seem to be like a very long sailing, right? It doesn't seem to be like a long trip. But quick spoilers for chapters 1140. Basically chapters 1134 to 1140. If you're already clicking this video, you're already caught up in Elbaf, I assume. But the next chapter comes out tomorrow or in 2 days, depending on where you are, and I don't want to spoil you potentially. So, chapter 1140 spoilers, briefly. The Holy Knights that got summoned to Elbaf in the latest chapter bring up, hey, Shamrock, why are you here? Are you visiting King Harold's grave? That, in and of itself, is a very damning line. Why visit King Harold's grave? I know Grand Line Review recently stated he thinks that it could be something as simple as hey, we go here to gloat. It's a good thing he died, right? I don't think so. To have your summoning circle already in the throne room, I genuinely think that's a big no-no. That's a problem. Now, Loki does not recognize these Holy Knights, so I don't think that Loki was in the room 14 years ago with King Harold when he killed him. Meaning, I don't think the Holy Knights were in the room, I mean to say, sorry. But 14 years ago, I do think that Loki found Harold and Ja Rule plotting something. Now, Ja Rule may not have been on King Harold's side, but he might have been, smart and kind enough to entertain King Harold's ideals. I mean, the man did rip out his own horns in an attempt to bring peace to Elbaf. Now, I can't overlook that, but I am going to judge that because it's very easy to make yourself look as peaceful as possible when you're trying to sell your nation out to the world government, right? So, my theory that I present to you, and I'm not really a One Piece theorist, but I've just been trying to hop on a little bit of the weekly train because I am really in love with the latest chapters. I want to do a full Egghead review soon, but damn, is Elbaf really, really enjoyable. And it's, it's built off everything else that One Piece has been building off of. But anyway, so 14 years ago, King Harold and Ja Rule are having potentially a heated debate when Loki walks in to probably mess around and cause mischief, as he has been shown to do in certain little flashbacks. I think that he caught King Harold presenting an idea to Ja Rule, which is let's join the world government via pretending to not be violent giants anymore. I've ripped my horns off, I look the part, but guess what? I want to join the world government and I want to sell our soldiers to to the world government. We can be a nation of peace so long as we give them a couple children a year, right? That's just the basic theory. I don't really have anything more to add to it, but that is what I think happened 14 years ago. Now, where Loki factors in, I think that Loki walked in and said, no. We are not that nation. Elbaf needs to remain sovereign and it needs to remain free. Like, what is the main attack that Dory and Bragi and, for whatever reason, Big Mom and Kaido also know? Ikkoku sovereignty. Big Mom was raised on Elbaf. Why does Kaido know that move? Did Big Mom teach it to him? Or is King Harold his dad? Right? Add some horns to King Harold and look at Kaido again. I'm not the only one saying it, but I am gonna goddamn talk about it freely, damn it. He looks like Kaido, and Kaido is evil. And he was not necessarily like the world end-all be-all evil, but he surely was not good for Wano at all, and a very selfish drunk at that. But King Harold, king of the giants, leader of the giant army, assumedly, right? How are you going to justify being a peaceful king when nobody on your island wants to do that, right? You sell them out to the world government. You invite them into your throne room. You let them put their summoning circle down as a show of good faith. But what you really want is a deeper form of control. I feel like King Harold wanted some sort of control over Elbaf in a way that he could not currently have. They already stated that, like, walking Elbaf to see giant villages and stuff, it takes way too long. Like, you just can't do it all, right? It's not feasible in a human's lifetime to try that. And that's very, like, telling. So imagine a giant trying to do that. That's at least half their lifetime. And if King Harold inherited the kingdom at a certain age, maybe, 130 or something like that, that's technically half of his giant life. We see that King Jarl, or sorry, not King Jarl, but Jarl the Elder is 400 years old. Now he's got a sword through his head, blah, blah, blah. But that's the oldest person in One Piece right now. Not counting the Gorosei and Emu, because we don't know their confirmed ages, right? And furthermore, we don't really know anything about Emu other than Ivankov's YouTube-ass theory, which I love. Really quick refresher, Ivankov just straight up was like, Emu Nerona must have had something along the lines of the immortal youth surgery performed on him, and he's persisted throughout the ages. And that's a really good theory. Go Ivankov. Thank you, Oda, for that. But I have a couple things to bring up about Loki now. So Loki is not evil to me. He's definitely a bad guy. We've seen the pranks and the stuff that he pulled in the Giants flashback that he was telling us about, that he was a little shit when he was a kid. He mastered and captured all the animals of the underworld and cut them loose as pranks. But, that's not necessarily a mark of evil. That's a mark of misguidance and a mark of people, that's a product of the environment that you're born into when you are born being called the accursed prince. In my opinion, they listened way too hard on whatever prophecy deemed Loki to be that. And then sometimes when you make someone out to be that bad guy, that bad accursed prince and all that, they're gonna be that. They're gonna rise to the occasion, and all of a sudden you don't like it just because you painted Loki in this light to begin with, and now you're mad he rose to the occasion. I feel like he was bullied into being Loki the prankster, Loki the trickster. Maybe he would have already done that stuff prior to being called an accursed prince, but they make it seem like he was born with said title. So if I'm born with the title, and you're gonna ace me like what they did to Ace. You shouldn't be alive. You're Roger's son. You're a piece of shit. I am certain when you have the balls of Loki and you're gifted this supernatural strength from birth, and you're better than most giants from birth. What are you gonna do, right? You're gonna act out. You're gonna lash out. Who's gonna stop you? Because apparently no one could ever at any single point. You know who Loki reminds me of? He reminds me of Kratos. But Kratos from Greece. And what did we get in a chapter very recently? Cerberus through the sword of Shamrock. Now, to see Greece and Norse mythology juxtaposed right on fucking top of each other just made me go, Oda, put the Blades of Chaos in One Piece and my life is yours. But In all seriousness, does that not strike you as something interesting, right? Kratos is shown as this video game character that's an unstoppable force of nature, not just a god of war, but as someone that does not fucking care, doesn't listen to nobody unless he really has to. Maybe he listens to like Athena sometimes, but even then, that didn't work too well for her, right? Luffy was warned about Loki by Skopper Gaban when Skopper was talking about giving him the key. Another spoiler for chapter 1140 coming up. They 1, 2, 3, spoiler, blah, blah, blah. They fight over the key, right? And Skopper Gaban kind of lets them win. But he does whoop out his axes and whoop out like a really dangerous maneuver. And that's what the axe is for, in case you're wondering. It's very interesting that like he whooped out like an aerial slash with 2 axes like that. Then it immediately put Luffy and Zoro on the offense, and he just dropped the key, he capitulated and let them go. In my opinion, he did that because he was always capable of stopping Loki, but he didn't feel like it. He's the preacher of love. He's there to, you know what, with Ripley and raise Colin. But staying out of Elbaf's business is something that Louis Arnault told us, right? Do not overstay your welcome in Elbaf. So just because he's been living there for a long time, Skopper Gaban that is, doesn't mean he's overstayed his welcome. But you know what is surefire fucking way to overstay your welcome within a week of being in Elbaf? Getting the key to Loki's chains and unleashing him. Skopper Gaban says, do you know what kind of man Loki is? Do you understand what kind of powers he has? What happens when you unleash him? And then Luffy walks away when he starts making that point. And again, we don't know what Loki's Devil Fruit is, but I do have a Marvel Mech Strike Force set of figurines, and they have all the villains as kaiju. I have Thanos over there, but they have Loki as this kind of like undescribable bug monster. And although I don't think that Loki is going to have this as his power of a Devil Fruit, let it be known that Loki definitely, in my opinion, has to have some sort of very, very frightening Zoan. A lot of people want the Fenrir Devil Fruit, which I've made a video on. Go check it out in my Devil Fruit playlist. The Fenrir Devil Fruit with Loki would be very good. It could also be just like a Nordic wolf devil fruit with a different name that we're not going to know, because there's many wolves in Nordic mythology. He's already talking about devouring the world, and there are 2 wolves that chase like the sun and moon, Scaldi and Hati. I think I pronounced their names right, hopefully. But one of them devours the sun, I'm pretty sure. So think about it that way. Like there is the sun realm, I'm pretty sure, or whatever the topmost realm is. We don't know exactly what world Loki wants to destroy. There's many worlds in One Piece, right? First of all, between Red Line and the regular world, those are 2 separate worlds according to the Tenrybitu, the Celestial Dragons. But then again, on Elbaf, we have the underworld, whatever the top 2 worlds are. I'll write the panels, you'll get them. We have those 3 world separations just in Elbaf alone. So something about the word world doesn't necessarily pertain to the entire planet, but could just necessarily pertain to big ass stretches of land, to the point where we have your celestial dragons and they're maybe not necessarily incorrect in saying the lower realm. It sounds very pretentious, and of course as celestial dragons we don't really like them, right? We trust them at their word to be the worst possible person. But what if they're simply just stating facts, that the upper realm and the lower realm are 2 separate entities altogether? It's not out of the realm of possibility when you have a giant tree in the form of the Eve tree going all the way up the red line. That's a massive tree. Then you have all these atom trees in the lore drop recently, that atom trees are dotted around the world. So that in and of itself too lends a lot of questioning. This atom tree, what happens at the top of the atom tree? We should be learning that soon. Who lives in the very tip-top world of Elbaf? It's just, some things we want to learn, right? We have separated worlds in One Piece as well. We have the Blue Sea people, and we have the White Sea and the White Sea and Skypiea and all that. We have the Sky Islands. That's again 2 world separations. NL went to the moon and saw moon people, and he's currently there still, maybe. And that's also a world separation. So the fact that we have these different types of worlds and, different layers to different types of lifestyles and whatnot leads me to believe that Loki's lifestyle and Loki's world is a little bit different in his eyes. Maybe that's what his bandages are for around his eyes. He sees a different world than what we see. Maybe not like in a crazy person way, but maybe his devil fruit allows him to cut through the fucking bullshit of reality and he can see the real things. Like maybe there are tangible spirits. We've already seen, you know, the Club Outerman in Skypiea and in Water 7. What if Loki can see stuff like that always because of his devil fruit? We don't know, right? But we do know he can see through them damn bandages. So what's that about, right? I have another video coming up soon too about Gunko, because she's like the only Holy Knight introduced so far that's not a Celestial Dragon. There's a lot of questions to bring up about that. It's interesting to bring her up now too, because she's the one who physically touched Loki. And I find that to be interesting because Shamrock wouldn't even so much as touch Loki. He got his Cerberus dog to go like fucking Air Force One on his ass and stab him through the chest. Granted, Loki is definitely surviving that, right? You're not just going to introduce Loki and kill him, right, Oda? But Loki's surviving that attack. And I bet all the berries in Nami's coin purse and I'm not betting my berries in my coin purse, so sorry, Nami. But I bet that Chopper will be the one to fix him. Chopper, Luffy, they're Zoans, right? I bet a Zoan can smell a Zoan from a mile away, whether or not they know it or not. And I think that could be the first indicator. Like, we're gonna have to perform surgery or give Loki a blood transfusion or something a la Fishman Island maybe. And because of that, it leads me to believe like the giants of Elbaf are not gonna want Loki to get fixed probably. They'll be like, oh, he deserved this, blah, 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 you know. But Luffy won't let that slide. And neither will Chopper. If someone has to get cured, I think Chopper is going to perform medical treatment on them. And overstaying your welcome in Elbaf is going to become a prevalent note again, because this will put them at odds with the giants, at least the ones in the village that we're at right now. None of them are on Loki's side, and when King Jarl tried to justify the actions of both Loki and King Harold, not King Jarl, but you know what I mean. When Jarl tried to say that, he tried to compare Loki and Harold to Nika because everybody wants to be the sun god, right? Because of that, I think that we're finally going to get a couple things. Loki's Devil Fruit reveal and Loki's true power set. We're going to get the real motives of King Harold, although the Straw Hats and the Giants won't be privy to this, but we will be privy to a 14-year ago flashback to the just before Loki capped Harold's ass. We might even get lucky and see Loki fight Harold over it. We might see Harold, since he was holding the Devil Fruit at the time, we might see how that even happened, because let's think about it. If King Harold is so strong and he had a legendary Devil Fruit and Loki still fucked him up, whoo, that's scary stuff right there. Anyways, I feel like I'm running out of stuff to add to the video. I've kind of already made my point. Loki is a bad guy. He's just not an evil guy, and I think King Harold is an evil guy. You with me? Have a good night. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you liked the video. Drop a comment down below if you got some stuff to say and you want to talk to me about it. Let's talk. I have a Discord in my About Me section. Check it out. It's kind of dead right now, but I'm building it up. Anyways, thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. Have a good night, everyone.